Hello students, I am Archana. Welcome to my channel Classroom for Class 10th. Today we are going to learn chapter number 13, that is our history part. In this chapter we are going to learn the liberation movement of sub-countries which were under colonial rule in the 19th century. So let us start chapter number 13. So children, this is our chapter number 13, that is National Liberation Movement in the colonial countries during 19th century. In page number 186, world map is given and the different color shades are given which shows the colonies of European countries. The pink color shaded parts are belonging to United Kingdom, that is England, during the colonial era, and the blue color or violet color shaded parts belonged to France. Light brown color belonged to Holland. People of different culture, tradition and religion lived together. They thought themselves separate from each other, so there were no feeling of unity. So the idea of nationalism or freedom or unity did not came into their mind. And on the other hand, the ruler also did not support the idea of democracy and independence. So the colonial power along with the ruler of those areas exploited these countries like China, Thailand, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and not only these independent countries but the colonial countries of Africa and Asia, they were also exploited by the colonial powers of European countries. As I have told you that there were no idea of unity or nationalism or freedom in those countries, so they did not care for the freedom of their country. But during the first half of the 20th century, when the idea of democracy and the idea of freedom and nationalism were on rise of European countries, discovery of printing press, the people of the colonial countries also came to understand these words, that is freedom, liberty, nationalism, socialism. So all these words they have come to understand, and they understood what does it mean for their own life. So they started protesting these colonial powers in their country. Now students, open Atlas, Africa political map. Now we can find the colonial countries which were under British colonial power. So we can identify that Libya was under British power, Egypt also, Sudan, Somalia, Kenya, it was also under British power, Botswana here, and South Africa, it was also under British colonial power. Now come to the western part, Nigeria and Ghana. These were the countries in Africa continent under United Kingdom. Now students, look at the board. I have summed up these themes into points. That is the first point I have written. During 19th century, colonial countries were in Latin America and in Africa continent and in Asia continent. The small countries, they were controlled by the European colonial powers. Now there are some independent countries also like China, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Sudan, Ethiopia. As I told you, these countries were independent only in name, and the rulers of these countries were directly or indirectly under the control of European powers. Now third point I have made, there were lack of national feeling or nationalism. So there were no support of democracy or freedom or socialism from the ruler of those countries. People were inspired by the new ideas, that is nationalism and democracy from Europe. So I have summed up these points based on the theme of the first part of lesson number 13. Now students, we will learn about China. China had two different phases. One during the rule of Manchu dynasty and after Manchu dynasty, that is establishment of republic in China. So during 20th century, China was ruled by Manchu dynasty. The ruler was very unsuccessful and he was unable to stop the colonial power in exploiting his country. The colonial power was able to take a lot of concessions from him, like both political and economic. The colonial power asked him to immune them from Chinese rule, and they also demanded low import taxes and to maintain army in the territory. So all these demands made China very much exploited at the hand of colonial power. So the people become very unhappy. The people of China, along with the administrator, they all protested against the foreign power and they tried to make them evacuate their country as soon as possible. So we can sum up in a point: China, two different phases. 20th century China was ruled by Manchu dynasty, very unsuccessful ruler of Manchu dynasty. Colonial power forced him to give economic and political concessions like low import taxes, immunity from Chinese law, maintaining armed forces. People protested along with the administrator. Manchu dynasty was very unsuccessful. It was unable to protect the interest of Chinese people. So the dynasty was overthrown in 1911 and a great party was formed under the leadership of Sun Yat-sen. Sun Yat-sen was regarded as the founder of modern China. He came from a poor family. He studied medicine and he studied missionary. He came to know about the value of democracy and freedom, and these ideas he wanted to establish in his country. So he started to reform his country, and he had organized a party based on three principles, that is San, Min, Chui. That means nationalism, democracy and socialism, which is called in Chinese language San, Min, Chui. So these were the three principles of Sun Yat-sen. But he was unable to control warlords, that is the regional military parties. These regional military parties became very powerful, and so he was unable to control. This caused a great unrest in the country, and there was a lot of political instability in China. This leads to May 4th Revolution in 1919. What was this May 4th Revolution? People wanted a change in their country. So they were against the Treaty of Versailles. As we know, Treaty of Versailles took place in 1919 in Versailles in France after First World War. Though China was an ally of the victorious group of countries, but it did not get all the lost territories. The youth of China demanded equality, and they wanted to bring modern science and technology, reduce poverty, and they also demanded right for women, equality in marriage, and simple language and script in which the Chinese people can read and write and understand. So these were some demands of Chinese people in the May 4th Revolution. There was a custom in China that is called foot binding for the women. Women were not supposed to have a fully grown feet. So this very torturous custom should be removed. That was also the demand of Chinese people. They wanted economic empowerment for the women, equality in marriage. So they, on the whole, they wanted to modernize China and to get rid from the old custom and tradition. Now let us summarize this part in this way. Establishing the republic. First point is the rule was overthrown. That means the Manchu dynasty rule was overthrown in 1911 and a republic was established under Sun Yat-sen in 1866 to 1925. Sun Yat was founder of modern China. Sun Yat-sen was the founder of modern China, and he made three principles. He programmed three principles. San Min Chui means nationalism, democracy and socialism. The fourth point is he was unable to control warlords. Who were the warlords? They were the regional military powers. So this led to the unstable social and political system, leading to May 4th revolution in 1919 in Beijing. Students, in page number 190, we can see Mao Zedong, the strong leader of China. He is addressing the people in Yan'an in 1944. Kuomintang was the national party of China, and it was called Kuomintang, KMT also. And the another party was CCP, Chinese Communist Party. So these two were the major parties in China, and they tried to unite the country. Now what was Kuomintang's philosophy? Its philosophy was Sun Yat-sen's philosophy, and they demanded the four major needs to be fulfilled for the Chinese people, and these needs were food, shelter, clothing and transportation. These four needs were immediately fulfilled for the Chinese people. And Chiang Kai-shek, he became the leader after Sun Yat-sen, and he tried to go on the path of Sun Yat-sen. He wanted to follow the path of Sun Yat-sen. He campaigned against warlords and Chinese Communist Party. So in this way, its social base was in urban areas. It was try to unite the urban people, and its motto was to bring revolution with the help of urban people only. And so it started for industrial growth, and 5 lakh industrial workers, working class, was built in China, mainly in the city of Shanghai. Only a small percentage of people were employed in the industrial areas, in urban areas and in city areas. The remaining people, they were like businessmen, shopkeepers, and they were doing their independent work, and they were called urbanites. And in Chinese language it is called Jiao Shimin. So in this industrial workers, women workers were also there, and they demanded equal pay and equality on the workplace. They wanted freedom and freedom in their marriage, and all the modern ideas and philosophy should be adopted by the people of China. They wanted to bring cultural change. So in 1902, journalism also started in China, and Peking University was established in 1902. In 1902, Peking University was established for the education of journalism, and it started to reflect the modern ideas in China. Now let us summarize this topic like this. Great disturbances during the May 4th revolution. Kuomintang, it was the National People's Party called Kuomintang, KMT. And the another party was Chinese Communist Party, CCP. They tried to unite the country. Gu philosophy of Sun Yat-sen, and they demanded food, shelter, clothing, transportation for the people of China. Chiang Kai-shek became the leader after Sun Yat-sen. They campaigned against warlords and Chinese Communist Party. Its social base was in urban areas and they wanted industrial growth, but only a small percentage of people were employed in industries and the rest were in small business, as I told you, and they were called urbanites. And in China, urbanites means Jiao Min Xin. Though Chiang Kai-shek tried to follow Sun Yat-sen, but it failed in its vision. Why? Because his idea was very conservative. He was not supporting the modern ideas, and he has very narrow point of view for the women. And he tried to establish 4 virtues for women, that is chastity, appearance, speech and work. In those 4 areas the women should be very confined, and he was against the trade union movement for women and for men also. He was mainly against the trade union movement. So his party Kuomintang failed, because the another reason for his failure is his base was very narrow. He only confined himself in the urban areas and he ignored the peasantry. So peasantry was ignored and there were a lot of inequality in his areas of work. Only he tried to concentrate on the military power. He tried to suppress any revolt or any demand of the people by the military power, and he was failed to address the people in general. He did not try to change the mindset of the people, and he tried to suppress the demand or any uprising in his country with the help of military power. At last Sun Yat-sen's vision was failed. See in textbook page number 191 how the peasants were burning the land records, because the lands were belonged to the landlords and now it was distributed among the poor people and peasants, so they were burning the land records. After the failure of Chiang Kai-shek and the philosophy of Sun Yat-sen, Chinese Communist Party became powerful in China. So now we will read how Communist Party became powerful in China. In 1937, China was invaded by Japan, and KMT party, Kuomintang party, withdrew. The condition of China became very wretched, and China became weak. Price rose up to 30%. In 1945 to 1949, China became very poor and was under great inflation. So the China faced 2 crises: ecological crisis and socio-economic crisis. Ecological crisis means there were deforestation and erosion of land. So these were some ecological problem China was facing, and it was becoming very poor due to the inflation and price rise. The another thing is China had a very primitive technology. It had no advancement in science and technology, and the country was under debt. So the indebtedness was also a great cause for the poverty in China. In 1921, Chinese Communist Party was founded, and it was inspired and following Russian Revolution, which took place in 1917 during First World War. So as the Chinese people were the great sufferers, and though it was always towards the victorious power in the world wars, but the people of China were very poor and they did not have any basic facilities also. So there was a great influence of Russian Revolution on China. Lenin established Kuomintang in 1918. Kuomintang, that is a world governance. He tried to rule the whole world and try to establish Communist Party throughout the world. So he established Kuomintang, and he tried to influence his ideology to the whole world, and mainly the Chinese people were very much attracted by Lenin's philosophy. They followed Marxist idea that only working class can bring revolution in a country. So they mainly favored the working class. There was a rise of Mao Zedong, a great leader and a great supporter of Marxist idea and communist idea. His name was Mao Zedong. He came to the power in 1893 and continued to be 1976. He tried to evolve peasantry also, not only working class but also peasants in the revolution. That means he tried to gather the working class as well as the peasants in a revolution. He tried to abolish landlordism and to distribute land to the landless on the basis of Russian Revolution, which took place in 1917. So Chinese Communist Party became very powerful party, and it had a great military base in different part of China. Chinese Communist Party became very powerful in China. It was most favored by the people of China. So it won against Kuomintang, that is the KMT, National Party of China. His approach was very radical. Mao's approach was very radical, and it had base in mountain areas from 1928 to 1934. He established Peasants' Council, that is called Soviets, to gather all the peasants in the revolution, and the peasant organization was organized. He confiscated land from the landlords and redistributed them among the landless peasants. So he became very favorite and very powerful in the landless community of China. He supported independent government and tried to rule with the help of army. He supported Urban Women's Association also. Now he has reformed many things in China. That a new marriage law was passed there, and he supported no arranged marriage and stopped purchase or sale of marriage contract that were prevalent in China, and simplified the law of divorce. That means it tried to give a lot of freedom to the women in China who were very conservative before coming of Chinese Communist Party. But Chinese Communist Party was forced by Kuomintang, and Soviet Communist Party formed another base. As it was forced and time to time suppressed by Kuomintang Party, the party formed another base away from the city. Chinese Communist Party went a long march from 1934 to 1935, and it travelled 6,000 miles in Shanghai. Chinese Communist Party always supported nationalism, and it always fought against the foreign imperialism, and it tried to make a land reform on the basis of Russian Revolution, and he was very much successful in doing all those things, that means bringing reform in the society and in the economic system of China, and inspired by the Soviet Revolution. So the party became very popular in China, and it had a strong social base in China, both in the urban areas and in the rural areas, supported by the workers of industries and peasants of land. One thing that is very good for China was that both Kuomintang and Chinese Communist Party, they came together to fight against foreign imperialism. They had the common view against the foreign imperialism and those who were exploiting China. So they together fought against the foreign rule, and both parties more or less become very popular in China. After Japan's surrender to US in 1945, both parties fought for power. First of all, they removed the foreigners from their country, and then they started fighting for power in China. Chinese Communist Party became very powerful in the mainland of China, and Kuomintang became powerful in Taiwan, away from the mainland of China. So up to this, let us summarize these topics under points. Now see students, the rise of Communist Party CCP in China. I have made a point. China was invaded by Japan in 1937. Kuomintang withdrew when Japan invaded China. China became weak. Price rose by 30% from 1945 to 1949. China faced two crises, ecological and socio-economic. China faced two crises, ecological and socio-economic. Chinese Communist Party was founded in 1921 and was influenced by Russian Revolution in 1917. Lenin established Kuomintang in 1918 to bring world communist government. Do you remember, students, Lenin, the leader of Russia during the Russian Revolution in 1917? So he tried to establish Kuomintang, that is the communist government throughout the world. Now came Mao Zedong to the power. So rise of Mao Zedong from 1893 to 1976. He involved peasantry in the revolution. Earlier we can see that Kuomintang avoided peasantry from the revolution, but Communist Party included peasantry in the revolution. Abolition of landlordism. Communist Party tried to abolish landlordism and to redistribute land among the landless people of China. Now come to page number 190 in our textbook. Now I will explain the point establishing new democracy. In 1949 to 1954, People's Republic of China was established in 1949. It was based on three principles. What were the three principles? First of all, land reform. It started land reform and redistribution of land among the poor people. People's Republic of China confiscated land from the landlords and redistributed it among the landless peasants in the country. And another aim of this party was that the important sectors of economy should be under the control of government, so that there should be equal distribution of wealth in the country. There should be no disparity between rich and poor. It was also important aim for People's Party of China. Now the another aim of this party was protect the right of women. Polygamy was removed and the freedom of women was established. They were given right to lead their life according to their wish. In this way, modern new democracy of China was established in 1949. Now let us summarize this topic, establishing the new democracy 1949 to 1954. The first point is People's Republic of China was established in 1949. Principles of new democracy, that is opposition to landlordism and imperialism, economy under government control, and enact laws to protect women. Now students, we have another topic, that is land reform. In our textbook page number 191. Land reform was the main aim of CCP, Communist Party of China. First we have explained its aim was to confiscate the land from the landlords and redistribute it among the poor people of China. So land reform was started on a big scale in 1950 to 1951. What was its aim? Peasants associations were formed so that they will find out who are the poor people, who are the landless people in our country, and they started to identify the class. So the class identification work was started, and the work team was formed on the county level, and this work team was to go to different part of the country to identify the class and to form a committee so that they can easily find out whom the land should be given. And peasant leadership was started so that there should be a leader from the poor people and from the middle class people. So the peasant leadership was started, and a middle class and poor class peasants committee was formed. Land, the main thing of China that was not acceptable by the world also, that the landlords were publicly humiliated and they were executed. At least 20 to 30 landlords were executed, and nearly 43% of cultivable land were distributed among 60% of the middle class and poor class peasants in China. In these motives, mainly the middle class peasants were benefited because their position were better than the poor class people from the starting. So this class benefited the most. And the most important thing is a new elite middle class elite group was formed, and the old elite was abolished. So in this way we can see that leaders from poor and middle class peasants group was formed. Another important thing that CCP did during those days was the universalization of education. Education was made compulsory for all the group of people, either adult or children. So the schools were established in different part of country. Now let us summarize this topic, land reform. Land reform was launched in 1950 and 51. Peasants associations were formed. Class identification was started. Work team was formed by different county level. Land reform committee. Peasant leadership started from poor and middle class. Landlords were publicly humiliated and executed. So most scholars agree that the strong China was established on these principles only. That is, the main principle was the land reform, universalization of education, and right to women. And they do not agree with the Chinese opposition towards opposition leaders. The Chinese Communist Party opposed all opposition parties, and only the one party system started in China. So in this video, up to this only. In our next video, we will learn about Vietnam. Watch this video and learn the topic according to the points. Do like and subscribe my channel. Till then, thank you, children.